I'm so excited that everybody's here to give Tish Owen a really warm welcome. I want to thank all of you for joining us here at Energized Living today. I'm Cindy. Ferris is going to drop out after a little while because he's not feeling well. So Andrew is co-host today. Tish is somebody that I'm excited for all of you to know. She is a friend of Susie's, and she started talking on a program that they do regularly, and we're going to give you that information. They started talking, and she said she loves past life regression, and my ears went ding, ding, ding. I want her on. And we've actually met before, Tish, and I didn't realize it until I saw your picture. We met at the Galactic Expo.
Years ago.
Yep, years ago. And so we've actually met before, and I didn't realize who you were, though. You probably didn't remember my face either, did you?
But I remember your last name.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Just because it's different.
Yeah.
With me, so I'm like, I know her, but I'm not sure.
Oh, you have so many skills. You are also a psychic medium. You do Reiki work, as many of us do. You do chakra balancing. But you do something that's a little different than a lot of people do with past life regression. And, you know, you have the reputation of doing that so well. Let's start the conversation by just telling us a little bit about what it is and how you got into it.
Past life regression is a method to be able to go back and look at past lives, possibly make connections between whatever idiosyncrasies you have in this lifetime that you brought in from another lifetime, and then you can solve those problems. Because, you know, as they say, what is it? Knowing is half the battle. I think that knowing is probably more than that. It's probably 75% of the battle. And so you can work your way through phobias and people that kind of keep showing back up in your life. All those things are beneficial from doing past lives, and sometimes just understanding how you got here and the circumstances of why you got here. I'm sounding really rough tonight because everything is blooming in Tennessee and all the trees are having tree sex and it's about to kill me.
I love it.
My whole yard is blooming and I'm like, oh, it's so pretty.
Know what you mean.
Exactly. So about probably 30 years ago, I was just kind of getting started on this path. I'm a late bloomer. And a friend of mine said, you know, I had some people do a past life regression, like a group of people who obviously, after I listened to the tape, they didn't know what the heck they were doing. And so he brought me this, you know, this little cassette, and I played it. 45 minutes of this cassette was him sobbing hysterically. And then they kept calling his name, trying to get him to come out of this hypnosis that they had put him under. And they had just, there was no protection. There was no, you're only seeing this, you're observing this, you're just a traveler, you're only there to gain. There's so many things that I give those kinds of prompts when I'm putting someone down so that they don't go off into this horrible place where he was. And the longer I listened to this tape, the more angry I became at the people who were doing it, who obviously did not have the knowledge to do what they had done. And it was very traumatic. So I started to study and I started to read books. And then I found a place called Redstone Institute, and I went there and I got more technological expertise, I suppose, from them. And then I've taken other hypnosis courses, not particularly pertaining to past life, but the way of the method is the same is in my estimation. And so I just enjoy it. I get to go on the ride, so I get to see what the person is seeing that I've put under, and that's always a little, you know, voyeuristic. It's kind of fun. And it also tells me that what they're seeing is valid. I've only ever had one person who absolutely made up what they were seeing. And I'm not sure. I just don't think she could get down, but she really wanted to, and she really wanted to think maybe that she had a regression. So, but I got nothing for that regression with her at all. But most people get something. Some people are harder to put under than others because they're resistant. It's about control, letting go of the control that you're going to have somebody hypnotize you. And so it's a little difficult if you're a control freak to be able to let go of that moment. So you have to feel safe, and you have to feel like you're in good hands, and you have to be told over and over again, nothing bad is going to happen. You're seeing what happened a long time ago. It can't hurt you now. You're just an observer. You're a tourist. It's like watching a movie. There's so many things. And then when I bring them back up, I'm saying to them, you're going to remember everything. More and more bits and pieces are going to float to the surface for this lifetime, and you're going to be able to put a lot of two and twos together. So I give all those post hypnotics as I'm bringing them up. So it's a process, and I set aside 2 hours for my people,
Wow.
because, well, you don't know, you never know how long it's going to take to get somebody under. And some people go just like that, and some people you're like, oh my God, will you please go under? What else can I do? Make you get there, where I just feel like I'm sweating bullets trying to get them, into the zone.
Yeah.
And it's
By
so
the way, your camera is bouncing a bit.
no, it's not. It's me.
Oh, is it you? Oh, okay.
It's an earthquake.
Okay.
It's me. I'm trying to get comfortable because I want to lean back, but I don't. So a lot of people so frequently will say after we're done, and they come back out. So did I just make all that up? Did I really? Yeah, you really did. You really did see it. And a lot of it has so many connections for people. And if you want, I've got a couple of stories that are kind of mind-blowing to me anyway, when I've done this for people. So, but you find out why, and you find out who a lot of times. And there's also, I always make the prompt of, take a good look at everybody that you've dealt with, and then you'll know when you come back if they're in the here and now lifetime or not. And I think that's important too, because a lot of times we come back with a lot of the same people. If we don't have things worked out, if we don't get things worked out in that lifetime or the 3 lifetimes that preceded it, we're going to come back. We're going to have to do it again. Sooner or later, we're going to have to get the lesson, and we're going to have to figure everything out. And sometimes we come back with people that we just like. It's like if you're going to go to the movies, you're going to call your friends and go, hey, we're going to go see, do you want to go? Or we're going to go out to the bar or whatever. Kind of the same thing. I have a couple of people that I've been here over and over and over and over and over with. And we've had all kinds of different relationships. We were brothers. We were friends. We've been lovers. I mean, just about everything that you can imagine. In those lifetimes, and I've probably had maybe 10 lifetimes with him. So it's just really, it's interesting. And the first time I ever saw him in this lifetime, I knew him. I mean, it was instantaneous. He walked into my store, and I looked at him and went, oh, I know you. And he's like, yeah, I know you. And so it was just this great moment of connection. So we've been friends in this lifetime for about 30 years.
Wow.
And counting.
I always tell the story, and everybody's sick of hearing this, I'm sure, but I'm going to tell you,
Tell
Tish,
us anyway.
if you don't know, but when Ferris and I met, we had just been introduced. He's a commercial photographer, and he was the photographer at a modeling school that I used to work at, and I was back there talking to him. Anyways, they introduced me to him for a brief second. We walked out in the hallway. He walked in one direction, I walked in the other, and I turned around. He turned around at the exact same time, and I said, you're going to be very important to me in my life. And he said, good to see you again. And that was the start, 29, whatever it was, in 92 or 90. Ferris, we started our studio in 92. We actually started working together in 90. That's when we met. So anyways, long time.
Yeah.
Many moons.
And
And
so, yeah, isn't that amazing though?
It is.
So many times when there's like particular parts of history, like if you're watching a movie and you're like, oh man, I really want to know more about that. Or I love the Roaring Twenties, or I love the Middle Ages. Of course, that's a pretty big span. Good possibility that you were there. If you have something that really feels right to you, or you feel real connected to. And when I was a kid, there was a TV show on. This will age me. This will date me right here. And it's called the Roaring Twenties. And it was about cops and robbers, and there was a speakeasy, and I thought it was a very exciting show. I was a little kid. I thought it was great, and I loved it. I loved the clothes and the music and just all of it. Well, I have a lifetime in that lifetime. It was short and fun and brutal at the end, but it was, it's pretty interesting. So a lot of times when you find something that you just go and it takes your breath, there's a really good possibility that you've been there. I saw there's a movie, Rob Roy, and there was just and I was and I'd seen it at the theater, and I were watching on TV, and I was actually standing on my front porch, and I could see it through the window, and there's a scene where he loads a flintlock and shoots somebody, and I went, oh, I've done that. I know that gun. It just clicked.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always, I don't want to say it's fun or it's entertaining. It's incredibly interesting to explore and to see where you've been and what you've gained and what you've lost and how you did it and how you got to this place. What made you come here now? And I tell people all the time, the most important lifetime that you've ever lived is the one right now that you're living in. Because so often people want to know if they were kings or queens. And I've never met any, by the way. I've done about thousands of regressions, literally thousands. Never met anybody that was a king or a queen or anybody famous particularly, except for one guy that you wouldn't know him unless you knew history. So if
So
I
the
ever run
fact
across,
that I have my house decorated with columns everywhere and David's statue and Venus de Milo and all that is everything. It's always attracted me since I was a little kid.
mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So yeah, been there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Because those are the kinds of things that we are drawn to, and it's not just happenstance. I mean, I don't believe in coincidence or happenstance. I don't think there's any such thing. I think there's always some kind of purpose, some kind of reason for it. Maybe that's wishful thinking, but I think it is. So yeah, when you have those things and you're like, oh, or that architecture texture, or that, oh my God, that painting, or any of those things. It's good to explore and to kind of see where you've been, what you've done, who you've done it with, maybe.
I think that's pretty exciting. Does anybody want to share anything before we continue, and just share anything that was like that, where it just, you saw it and you knew you had a relationship with it, ever it was? And I got to put on my glasses so I can actually read.
I'm here. I experienced my death in my last lifetime. I was a pioneer woman and experienced being killed by wild animals. This is Marcia, who wrote this. Afterwards, I heard the name Granny Nielsen. I assume that was me, but I have no reason why I was told my name, or even why.
Wow. Yeah,
Marcia,
most of the time you don't get a name, do you?
No, not all the time. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you don't get. There's a lot of things, like maybe what country you were in. But Marcia, have you explored that any further? Because that was the end. And when I do a regression, I think it's very important to see the end, to see how you went out, because a lot of times it has bearing. But how did you get to that place where you were killed? Do you have any idea, or have you explored that at all?
I was standing in a meadow and I was surrounded by wolves. And then I immediately, when I looked up and I saw that there was several on each side, I immediately knew I was surrounded, and I had a bit of a panic, and then everything went black. So my soul left. I never felt
Right. You checked out. Do you
after a few seconds I came back and I experienced this wolf licking my face and so on. I didn't realize what had happened because I couldn't feel anything. I could just feel his love. He just loved me. And then I realized he was going to eat me. And I looked around and I said, I'm lying on the ground. My head's on the ground. I'm dead. And I couldn't feel anything, but I could just see and feel this love. And then everything went black again. But I didn't feel where my soul went to. I just felt what was in my body.
Wow.
I don't know why I had I know why I had the experience, because now I'm not afraid of dying. Was never afraid of the afterlife, but I had been afraid of dying, and now I'm not. But why was I given the name? And I did look it up, but I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find any ancestors, anybody like from pioneer times that was Nielsen.
You can't always find, because a lot of things were not recorded, and you can't always find everything, but I would be Oh, no, I think I've done something. Oh, there I am. Whoops. Oh, there, look. Oh, look. Now on the right side, there's a chat where we can see.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times it's very important to know how you got there, what happened. Did you get lost? Did you wander out from the woods? Because that also kind of gives you some insight into that lifetime. But I do feel like that what you brought away from it was that you could let go of your fear of of dying, which I think is incredibly important.
But I had the feeling that I was in this meadow and there was a lot of woods
Uh-huh.
in front of me, and that's where I saw a wolf, and then I looked and saw another one, and then I looked the other way, and I knew I was surrounded by then. But I just felt like I couldn't get back to the home, the cabin or whatever. And I think I was a bit older, but it was like daytime. So I guess it was maybe just an unusual experience that I happened to be out in, you know, it wasn't necessarily that far from the home, but in the daytime that wolves would have been around then. I don't know what it was. I just knew right away what it was.
Right, which is kind of amazing anyway that you had
But I experienced it as if I was right there. It was
right, yes.
right there experiencing it.
What prompted that vision?
It was very strange. I have memories of almost my whole lifetime back into the womb, and I went to speak to myself as a fetus. And I was thinking, I want to speak to myself at 2 or 3 months old. And I had a reason for that. I won't get into the backstory, but I said to her, how are you feeling? And she said, the dark is all closing in, like the wolf. Like the dark is all closing in. And then pause, like the wolf. And I thought, oh, I'm crazy. What am I'm just imagining all this. And I just left the whole thing. I thought, this is ridiculous. Well, why would she be saying this? And then I caught myself, which I wouldn't have done quite a few years ago, but I caught myself and I said, now just go ahead with it. And so I said, what do you mean the wolf? And then I was there. I was there in the scene. So myself as a fetus gave me the experience.
Mm-hmm. And also taught you that there's nothing to be afraid of. Now you know there's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah.
That's a positive experience, I think.
It was. It happened so suddenly. I just felt this moment when I realized, I just felt this panic starting to come up in me, and then everything blacked out. My soul left. I never felt any of it. And the question I have of you is, this is my big question, is it possible that people who say were burned at the stake or being shot or this or that or whatever, is it possible that their soul left when they knew they were going to die? And even though the people watching and looking on were horrified, perhaps the person, like if somebody saw me being attacked by wolves, they would have been horrified.
Yes.
Is it possible that people aren't, if they know they're dying? And I did hear Casey and Brad talking to Julius, through Julius, and somebody else asked what happens when you die. Is it hurt or is it painful? And Julius answered to them, not if you die suddenly. If you know you're dying and you die suddenly. If somebody's having cancer, naturally they're going to have a period of pain. But that was their answer, and that was, since then I heard that. So I'm assuming that I'm not the only one that's experienced this.
No, I think you're exactly right. I do feel that we can check out, and a lot of times we do have control over that, and especially in such a traumatic, something really terrible is going to happen. I think that we have some control if we believe we do, and you obviously did, and you stepped out of it. So yes.
I didn't believe it. Well, I don't know, it just happened so fast. I didn't know what was coming.
Right, but you had the ability or the determination, or you just stepped away. It was so traumatic, you stepped away.
Yeah. There's something in me did, yes.
I think that's what happens with trauma with children that develop multiple personalities. They disassociate, and so I think we can disassociate enough to just step out of our bodies, and I think that's exactly what happened. So,
well, I had always felt that I had been here in pioneer times.
Yes.
And when I heard this name, Granny Nielsen, I had this kind of a shiver and kind of a feeling, a wow feeling, or a not exactly happy, but a pleased feeling or something.
Right.
So
There was an attachment
but I thought,
to it.
why would they give me a name? It was funny. Why would I be given a name? I was just surprised.
I just think that reiterated the experience, though.
Experience, yeah.
Because when you got the name, you said like you had a little shiver from it. So, yeah. So there's a bunch of people. I can see everybody talking over here on
Yep.
this side. That's kind of cool. Pam has something interesting. And she says, when I visited
Go ahead.
England last year, I went to the tower where Anne Boleyn was held before she was beheaded. I didn't want to go to the top, so my daughter went on her own. While I was waiting for her, I got this strong knowing, an inner voice that said, "You were Anne Boleyn." So when I read that a minute ago, I got a little shiver from it. I've been to the tower, and it is energetically one of the most horrifying places I've ever been, because
Really?
there's so much death and fear and pain energy still associated with it, hundreds and hundreds of years later. So I'm not going to say yay or nay. I think it's a pretty good bet that you were, because you get that thing from it, and I got a little bump from it as well. So, and all I can say is, I hope you fared better in the lifetime since, because she didn't do so well. Bless her heart. Bless your heart. Oh, so this is from Bonnie. And when she heard about a newly excavated archaeological site in Turkey, I had heart palpitations. I would love to know my connection to that 12,500-year-old site. Well, you were there. You lived there. I feel like you were female in that lifetime.
Mm.
And so, and there's a lot of art. Is there not a lot? Is there art in that site? I feel like there is artistic stuff. So I feel like you had something to do with that, whether you helped or you were an artist or you were an aide or whatever, where you worked on some of those with your hands on some of the artistic things in that place.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
It was a site that was open for a long, long time. It was built, and they with huge megaliths, and then they buried them and built another one.
Okay.
So I would be really interested to know, was I there at the end, at the last part of it, or the beginning part of it?
I don't feel like you were there at the last. I feel like you were there when it was bustling, when it was being built and created, because I feel like you were working on artwork for the walls and the stucco designs or
The stones.
Stones. Okay. Yeah.
I also I was wondering if I was a native person on the earth, or had I come from another place.
In that lifetime, you were definitely native, but it's very possible that your soul has come from somewhere else. It's not impossible. It's not unlikely.
Okay. I think that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Okay. James says, as a kid, I saw a girl by school. A vibrations type feeling came over me. Later in our teens, she was my first girlfriend, and we were together for 9 years. Now, if I get a reading, I'm told someone from your past will be coming back, although I've not seen her in 30 years. I'm not positive that it's her, James. I feel like there is somebody from your past coming. Where's James, so I can look at you? Are you there? There you are. There's no picture. Okay. So I don't know that it's her, but I do feel like there's somebody that is coming that you're going to connect with. Hey, hi, James. I can't hear you, but I can see you. I just want to see what you look like. Okay. So I don't know that it's her, but I feel like there is somebody coming into your life that was important to you, and it might not be from this lifetime. So keep your, eyes peeled. Keep your eyes open. Be open. Be open.
Yeah. I've got you unmuted, James.
Oh, I didn't want to interrupt her.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I'm talking. I don't know. So it's not taking. I have to unmute myself then.
No, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Oh, okay.
We just can't see you. We can only see your eyebrows.
You can see his eyes.
I'm holding this in the hand. Yeah, I've never done this before, so that's as good as it's going to get, I guess.
Okay,
all right.
Good.
So yeah, I do feel like there's someone coming. I don't know that it's this person, but I feel like it's someone coming from your past, and it might not be from this lifetime. It might be from another lifetime that's going to come forward. So I just want you to just be aware. And if you sometimes when we meet someone that's from our past life, we do get that little that little moment, that little connection, that little palpitation. So pay attention. Okay.
Yeah, when I first met her, the one that you say it's not her, I was only like 8 years old. I think she was in 3rd grade. But there
Okay.
was nobody else that was really that significant. But I didn't think about someone from your past, like a past life. I was thinking my past in this life.
Well, I'm not saying
So,
it's not her. I'm sorry. I'm not saying it's not her, James.
yeah.
It,
Well, you
it
didn't.
very well could be. But I'm just saying, be open to the possibilities, right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, take
Um,
care.
Karen, no, Ferris is sick, honey. He doesn't feel good, so he's gone to bed. He just said that he's going to bed. Okay.
Yeah.
One medium told me that I was an herbalist building the Great Wall of China, and that my mother in the current lifetime was a coworker, but I never had any experience related to that. So I don't usually tell people what they are or who they were or whatever, because when I do a regression, I'm really, really, I'm just safety girl. I want to make sure that I'm not leading them in any way, because you're in their subconscious mucking about, and you want to be careful how you muck. So I never ever say, oh, I see this or I see that. A little bit of this because it's coming through really strong tonight. But if it doesn't, when she said that to you, who am I talking to? Mariel, where are you?
Yeah, Marielle. Marielle,
Okay.
can you unmute yourself?
I did.
Oh, there you are. Okay,
There you
got you. I see you. When you, so did that resonate with you? Did that ring any bells when she said that? Did it feel right, or did it just kind of roll off you?
That was the first experience I had with energy of any kind.
Well,
2 years older than hers.
somebody else is talking.
Okay, we've got it muted.
Well, being an herbalist makes sense because in my early career, I was a naturalist, and my mission is to protect the environment. So that made sense.
Okay.
And he said that my mother was a healing woman or something. And my mother always liked to listen to people's problem, a bit, giving them a psychotherapy of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
So that made also sense.
Okay, so it did kind of resonate.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think that's important. It doesn't feel wrong to me. It feels pretty right, especially with the interest that you've developed in this lifetime.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Bernadette says, I hear the soul leaves before there is pain. We already had that conversation. We already had it.
Yeah.
Sometimes yes and sometimes no. And I think if it's traumatic, then yes, I think that a lot of times the soul can step away. I also think that, and because in modern medicine, we have a tendency to keep people alive longer than they probably ought to be kept alive. And so I had an experience with my cousin's stepdaughter, and she had been in a horrible, horrible wreck, and she was just broken. And the first day that I went into the ICU, and she was in there, you could feel that her energy, I mean, the machines are going, her chest is up, going up and down, and they're showing her heart rate, but she was there. There was somebody there. In a 24-hour period, I came back the next day, and the machines are still going. Her color looks the same. Everything looks the same, but she was not there. She had stepped away. And I feel like that was a conscious choice on her part to just step out of it, out of what could not be repaired. It was not repairable. And so I think that that's true. But then you've got people who, and I think it depends on the person. You have people who have cancer and they just will not let go. They just hang on and hang on and hang on for whatever reason, or they're afraid to die, or they don't want to leave their people. They're afraid that their kids aren't going to be okay, or whatever it is, that they just hold on and hold on. And so I think it depends on the individual. When my mother was dying, we spent 9 days at St. Thomas here in Nashville, and she had a bladder infection that went toxic. And she had a couple of good days where she was talking to me and she knew what she was doing. And she said, I feel really bad. And I said, I know. Let me call the nurse and I'm going to get something for you to make you feel better. And she said, well, I think I might just go ahead and die. And I said, okay, you do what you need to do. And she did. And I think that was a conscious choice on her part. You cannot convince me otherwise. If somebody says to you, I think I'm just going to go ahead and check out, don't be surprised when they do. And I wasn't. She was 100. So she had a
Wow.
pretty good long lifetime. Um,
My
and
dad kept
yeah,
trying to cross over that rainbow bridge, Tish, so many times. And he never did make it all the way across. And I think it's because of the love of the kids. There's 6 of us, and we just wouldn't let him go.
yeah,
And then in December, my granddaughter was here, and his great granddaughter, and she's pregnant. She was pregnant at the time, and she said, "Grandpa, please be here for Katie's birth." And he said, no, 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 Sarah, I'm not going to be here this long. And she said, "Please, I want you to be here for Katie's birth. Please wait." And so he promised. And then she said, "Well, I want you to be here in May when I come up so we can do our multi-generation pictures." And he said, "I'm not going to be here then." And Katie was born March 11th, and Dad checked out on the 12th. So he kept his promise, and it's remarkable when those things happen and yet not. Do you know what I mean?
right. You kind of go, oh, that's not. My best friend died a year ago tomorrow, and we were friends from the time we were 13. So um, her great grandchild, one of the great grandchildren, was born while she was in hospital, and they brought the baby in. The baby was 2 days old, maybe, and they brought her in to show her. And there's a picture of Ann laying in the bed and holding the baby, look at the baby, and she checked out 2 days later. She's
Wow.
done. So
Yeah, he saw her that next day, and on that night, he saw
yeah,
pictures, and it was crazy.
I think it's pretty amazing that we make those choices, or we don't make those choices. We hang on forever through all the pain and all the agony. And I've seen that too, and it's heartbreaking. Um, Pam says yes, she's doing well this time. That's good. Nobody's cut her head off. That's important. Um,
Yeah.
Andrew says I feel a connection to Atlantis, and I think Atlantis. Back in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, we talked a lot about Atlantis. We don't talk about it as much anymore, and I think that I'm not sure why that is true, but it seems like it is. So I'm with you. I feel a connection to Atlantis, and when I read things or sometimes have those moments or those dreams where I see what I know is Atlantis, it's kind of overwhelming, and we're stupid and screwed ourselves up. So, um,
Mine is always Pompeii.
oh my God, I think I did Pompeii too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we were there together.
Well, it sucked at the last 10 minutes, but there was I don't know, have you been to any of the Pompeii displays, the museum displays? Girl, it will take your breath. So we went to one I'm not sure where it was. My husband's a big museum buff, so he drags me to museums all over the damn place. And there is, I don't know what you call it, but where the hot ash covered dogs and people, and there's like a statue almost of where it hardened over them. And they had those, and they had a wall from Pompeii that I had to stop. It was like this beautiful painted wall, and it had like a fountain in the middle of it. And I went, oh God. I mean, I couldn't get my breath all the way through it. I felt like I was smothering.
Mm-hmm.
I was overwhelmed by the emotion of it. The room that had all the and I guess I don't know what to call them except statues. I walked in the room and went, nope, and I turned and walked back out. I can't do this room. And so it was kind of, oh my God, talk about taking your breath. It really did. And when I was a kid, we studied in history, right? Because I used to teach history. And we studied Pompeii, and I was fascinated as we studied it. And Vesuvius erupted on my birthday in this lifetime.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, the first time I heard the name, I went, what? It was so familiar. And so I had to look it up, and then I found the story about Pompeii. And then I would have lots of visions coming and that kind of stuff. And like I said, my whole house, if you walk through it, there's, pillars everywhere. And it's like my granddaughter is always saying, why don't you modernize your house? And I said, this is comfortable. What can I say?
Sorry, this is 4th century BCE, and I like it this way.
Yeah.
I think that I think it was a beautiful life up until the end, up until the very end. It was a place of culture and of beauty and of art. And I feel like women there had a lot of freedom during those times. And so, yeah, it's one of those, I feel connected to that too. And to, and the other that we don't talk about too much, or the Lemurian, which is another civilization, if you will, like the Atlanteans. And so have a connection. I have a Lemurian crystal that I carry around everywhere. I've been dragging around for years. So,
You see, Mary's saying, I've been told numerous times I was a powerful healer and apparently threatened the powerful, the power at B, burned at the stake.
mm.
I've always related to that too.
Are you a healer in this lifetime, Mary?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sometimes we carry those traits from one lifetime to another with us, right?
I hope I don't find a stake anywhere near me.
Yeah, I think we're okay. I think we're okay as far as that goes. I think we're all right.
Thank you.
But yeah, those memories of there's just things that trigger it sometimes, and there's movies, and sometimes you read something in a book, or somebody just says something to you offhand, and you're like in that moment where it just takes your breath. So yeah, and then again, a lot of times we bring in that we're healers in this lifetime, or whatever we practice, and I don't know, that method of, I guess it's a method that need to serve, I think follows us from lifetime to lifetime. I don't think it just goes away. So
Yeah, I don't practice per se. I just am. That's how I feel about being a healer now. I just am.
you just am. And sometimes
I
you
don't
just
know
am.
what you see.
No, I agree. I think you just am. So and it is, I guess you could call it a practice or whatever, but yeah, you can be, here I am. I just am. So yeah. What's your what do you use, different methods? What do you do?
Mostly it's just it's a feeling that just a knowing that comes in about things. It kind of comes into me in waves sometimes, and sometimes I just realize, oh, that's something I hadn't thought about before, or that's something I don't know. I can't explain it. It's just there.
You don't have to.
It comes to me in different ways.
Right,
And it's changing now. I can see it's changing.
How so?
I feel like it's moving faster.
Huh, okay. Becoming more intense, maybe?
Maybe.
Okay. So yeah,
It's
I think
not
you're
a
just
bad
letting.
feeling
Oh
necessarily.
no.
Just different.
Well, I feel like you're just letting spirit guide you.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly how it's supposed to be. We need to, listen more and talk less, maybe. Trust it, right?
Right. That has not been my strong suit throughout my life, to talk less, but I'm trying.
Yeah, well, join the club, kiddo.
I know that, Tish, I used to have this fear when I first heard about Wiccan. I didn't know what it was. I just had this unnatural fear of it, and I didn't want to know about it. And my grandson kept asking me. And then I'm a whole health educator, and I had to get continuing ed credit. So I typed in, they had a whole bunch of offerings that we could go to, and one of them was Wiccan. And I said, you know what? I'm going to find out about this. And then went in there and it's herbalism. I'm an herbalist. What do I do in this lifetime? And I'm an herbalist.
Exactly.
It's about nature. I love digging in the ground. I'm a big gardener. It's just, I've already do all those things that were in there. And I had this fear though. And I think it's because the same thing that Mary was saying, that I was there.
Yeah. And I had a complete, the opposite experience, because the first time I ever saw the word Wicca, I went, what is that? and I had to go find out. So yeah, so here I am. I don't know, Karen. I don't know what that means.
What did she say? I didn't see Karen's.
Was that Cappadocia? And I don't know what that means.
Karen, are you there?
She's not. I don't see her picture or her.
Okay, she might not.
Okay. Bernadette said she was told she was the goddess of light in Atlantis. Is that true? More an acolyte. Where are you, Bernadette? Where are you? This is not as easy as it looks. Hi, Bernadette. Okay, I see you. An acolyte. There was a temple. You were in a temple, so maybe you worked for the goddess, because I don't think that. I think that goddesses are too smart to reincarnate here. Just an opinion. I could be wrong. That's what I'm thinking.
How do you feel about that, Bernadette? Are you there? Can you unmute yourself?
It was at the time I was working with the Archangel Metatron, and I was having a lot of real big transformative energies come through.
Mm-hmm.
And it just felt like so big, like energy that I could not contain. So to me, I would have to have been something that could contain these kinds of energies. So
maybe you had that. I'm sorry. But maybe you had that ability. Maybe you had been trained to have that ability to be that kind of vessel as well.
Right. Well, when I worked with Sheila, with Theo, when I asked for guidance, he said to use my healing hands to change the world. So, I mean, my mother had real healing hands. She was an herbalist. And when she had cancer, I was guided to, do energy healing on her. And the pain from her leukemia left. She still had the leukemia, but she never had the pain associated with it.
Oh my God, that's beautiful.
So, it's just like, with energy healing, you just let the energy of the divine flow, and, it knows what it needs to do. You're just kind of like the vessel. And so, that's what I do with my family and friends. And my children, when they were little and they had fevers, I would just tuck them up next to me, and it was almost like I would absorb their fever, and they would be fine. So it's, everybody is different, but, I'm open to this because that's how I grew up, with a mother who was an herbalist and very much into nature and natural healing.
That's fortunate. That's very fortunate for you.
Thank you.
So keep doing your goddess work, girl.
Okay. Who else?
Bonnie.
Oh, Bonnie, yes.
Have you had an experience with people who have taken on a lesson for their entire soul family? Yes, I have. How did it play out? Not very well. So I think that we make arrangements and agreements before we come here a lot, to figure out what we need to learn. And we come and go, okay, yeah, I didn't get that lesson. Let me do it again. And I feel like there are people who take on the karma, if you will, or the lessons from their family, their soul family. And they do it voluntarily when they're on the other side. But when they get here, they don't know how to deal with it, or they don't know how to go forward with it, or they don't know how to work through it. And so a couple of times that I've seen this, and I've tried to convince people, I think you've done everything you can do. I think you need to let go of this. And, you've reached the point where now you're making yourself a scapegoat for the family. And that's wrong. That's not in anybody's best interest. So, yeah, I've seen it. I think it has not played out particularly well. I've got one client that I'm still working with, and it's getting better. She's not on that ride quite as heavily. You know what I'm saying? She's backed away a little bit to say, ooh, everybody has their own karma. Everybody has their own dharma. Everybody has their own, what they need to learn. And I can't fix, like, she came in believing that she could fix all this karma from all these other people. And that, I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's feasible. And I don't think it's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So did that answer anything? Or
Bonnie, you want to unmute yourself?
Yes, I think I'm unmuted. Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Uh-huh. As some of us on this call know, BJ was talking about this, and I haven't run across it before, and I was just wondering, actually, what the persons might have been experiencing. It was just, the lesson was just so intense. Is that what you're saying? It was so intense that they couldn't rise above it, or couldn't even start to get a grip on it when once they knew that that's what they might have done, taken on that whole soul lesson. That's
Yes.
for everybody in their soul.
And my question would be, why would you do that? What would make you think that you ought to do that? Or how were you convinced in some way to do that? So it's kind of a frustrating and sort of a mind-blowing thing. So yeah, it's a hard thing to overcome.
Right. I hope I don't feel like I'm one of those people.
No.
I just wondered how it would, how one would actually go about dealing with such a heavy, well, it seems to be such a heavy burden.
Yeah, and from so many different people.
Yes, from so many different people.
And I've dealt with people that one person that I know who felt like her family line was cursed from an incident that happened in Ireland about 3rd century. And maybe that's true. And so she feels like her job in this lifetime is to figure out how to undo that, or how to let go of that energy. And you can look at a curse in any way you want, but if you believe it, then you need to deal with it. And so that's what she has spent. She actually became an archaeologist, an anthropologist, in order to learn more about the lifetime that she thinks that happened in. So she's dealing with it a very different way than this other person, who I just feel like sometimes she's just pounding her head against the wall. And I'm like, you need to back up, and you need to look at this lifetime and you, and what you need and what you're experiencing, and where you need to go from here. And it would be in your best interest to not worry about whatever this karma that you brought in with you. You can say no. You don't have to do it, right?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
And isn't the purpose of doing this work so that this lifetime can be better? I mean, you
Yes.
can't do anything about that life.
Right.
So isn't the reason to even do past life is to understand, first of all, your gifts that you came in with. I've always felt that every single time that I have come in, I've been some kind of a leader. It's always felt that. And still I come into this lifetime as a leader, not necessarily the most talented one, but the leader of the talented ones. I don't know if that makes sense.
And willing to do the work.
Pardon?
And willing to do the work.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is the lifetime that's the most important one. And if we can learn these lessons, and we can let go of the karma, the dharma, the trauma, then we can make this life better, and we are more capable of learning because we're not having trauma all the time. And when we come back again, we can choose better, and we can choose different things. So it helps us on our soul progression. I feel like every lifetime should help us on our soul progression. Some don't. Some are, lifetimes where we just, screw off and don't get anything accomplished.
Well, I want you to give your information to everybody.
So Tish Owen on Facebook, Goddess in the Moon on Facebook, goddessinthemoon.com. I'll put a phone number.
Goddess in the Moon. I love that, by the way. That's such a great.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And just look for her, Goddess in the Moon, on Facebook. You can go there. There's her number. Call her and you can book a session.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Lynn. My first book was Shirley MacLaine, Out on a Limb. That's the first book I read.
I love that book.
And then, me too. And then I read, and I don't know who the authors were, but it was Past Lives. And I was divorced, and my mother came in my house. It was on my coffee table. And my mother, the good Catholic woman who had converted from being Church of Christ, and if you can imagine that, she was a joy. And she really was. She's kind of funny. As she got older, she loosened up a lot. She almost had a coronary over the book, just the book. I said, I'm just reading the book. I'm just curious. I'm just reading the book. That book disappeared out of my house. I don't think fairies got it. I'm pretty sure my mother did. So, okay, this was fun.
This has been so much fun, and I thank you all for being here today. This has been so exciting. One last question before we go, and that is the coronavirus also coming back from another time? Because it feels like it.
It feels like something that's been here before, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And it may have mutated, but it feels like something that's been here before. I mean, if you look at not the parallels, scientifically, not the parallels between the 1918 influenza and this, because this is not a flu, it's different, but it still has that sort of energy where it's just, I mean, it's just moving through the population like a fire.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
So, yeah, so wear your mask, wash your hands,
Yes.
stay home if you can.
Okay. But
cool.
I thank you so much. You're amazing. And
Thank you.
Andrew, if you're there, do you know how to unmute everybody? Or everybody just unmute yourself? And
thank you, Trish.
everybody just say thank you.
Thank you, Tish.
Thank you.
Great, I had a great time.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Anthony.
May we sleep well tonight.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Tish.
All right,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you for